Commander Valorous stood at the observation deck of the last remaining shield station on the Sara Prime. His three-fingered hands trembled as he watched another cluster of evacuation ships lift off from the surface below. The pale blue moon that had been his home for all 70 cycles of his life was dying. In the distance, he could see the dark masses of Rex bioships circling like scavengers, waiting for the shields to fail completely. The war had started 2 generations ago, when the Rex swarm first entered the Saran space. At first, the Republic thought they could negotiate. The Thesserons were a peaceful people, as were their allies the Kelthi and the Nomari. Together, they had built a civilization based on art, philosophy, and scientific discovery. War was something they studied in ancient history, not something they prepared for. But the Rex did not negotiate. They did not communicate. They simply consumed. World after world fell to their endless hunger. The Rex were a hive mind, countless organisms acting as one, evolved on some nightmare world where only the most aggressive survived. They turned entire planets into breeding grounds for more of their kind, stripping every bit of organic matter until nothing remained but bare rock. Valorous had watched the Thesseran military try to fight back. Their defensive drones were elegant machines, designed to protect and shield rather than destroy. Against the Rex swarms that numbered in the millions, elegance meant nothing. One by one, the moons fell. The Zara IV was overrun 3 years ago. The Zara II lasted only 8 months after that. Now only the Sara Prime remained, and its shields were failing. The distress beacon had been broadcasting for 6 months. Valorous himself had composed the message, pouring all his desperation into the words that shot out across the stars in every direction. He had sent it to every known civilization within 100 light years. The responses had been disappointing. The Cortani Empire sent their sympathies, but explained that they could not risk their own worlds. The Helix Federation offered to accept 10,000 refugees, but no military support. The Zenti said they would pray for the Sara, which Valorous found particularly unhelpful. 3 days ago, the central shield generator had started showing critical failures. The technician said it would last maybe 1 more week, perhaps 2 if they were lucky. There were still 40,000 Thesserons on the surface who could not be evacuated. The ships were full. There was nowhere left to go. Valorous had stopped sleeping. His gray skin had taken on a sickly pale tone, and his large dark eyes were sunken with exhaustion. He spent his time coordinating the evacuation, trying to save as many lives as possible before the end came. In quiet moments, he allowed himself to imagine what the final hours would be like. The shields would collapse. The Rex would pour down like a living tide. It would be over quickly, at least. That was the only mercy. The communication officer, a young Nomari named Sithis, approached him with her tablet. Her fur was unkempt, and she moved with the exhaustion they all felt. "Commander, we have another status report from the surface. The Eastern continent has completed evacuation. 12,000 civilians are in orbit now." Valorous nodded slowly. "And the Western settlements?" Sithis looked down. "They say they need 3 more days. Maybe 4. 3 more days. The shields might not last 3 more days." Valorous felt the weight of command crushing down on him. How did one choose who lived and who died? How did one make peace with inevitable extinction? "Keep monitoring the situation," Valorous said quietly. "And keep that beacon transmitting. Even if no one comes, at least the galaxy will know we tried." Sithis nodded and turned to leave, but then she paused. "Commander, there is one more thing. We received a response to the beacon." Valorous felt his heart skip. "From whom?" "The Cortani changed their minds." "No, sir. It is from an unknown civilization. They call themselves humans, from a planet called Earth. The message is simple. It says they are coming to help." For a moment, Valorous felt that dangerous emotion again. Hope. Then reality crashed back down. How far away are they? Civis checked her tablet. The signal came from 47 light years away, sir. Even at maximum faster than light speed, they would need weeks to arrive. We do not have weeks. Valorous closed his eyes. Of course. Someone had finally answered their call for help, but mathematics and physics cared nothing for hope or desperation. By the time these humans arrived, there would be nothing left to save. Thank them for their response, Valorous said. Tell them we appreciate their willingness to help, but to not risk their people for a lost cause. Civis started to compose the message, but then she looked at her tablet with confusion. Commander, I am receiving another signal. It is not a communication. It is a sensor contact at the edge of the system. Valorous felt ice run through his veins. The wrecks are bringing in more ships? No, sir. The signature is different. Multiple vessels, unknown configuration. They are broadcasting an identification code. They say they are from Earth. That was impossible. The laws of physics did not allow for such speed. Even the most advanced civilizations needed time to cross such distances. Valorous rushed to the sensor station, his exhaustion forgotten. On the display, he could see them. 12 contacts moving information toward the SAR Prime. The communication channel opened, and a voice spoke in perfect Desseran, clearly being translated in real time. It was a strange voice, firm and confident, with an odd rhythm to it. This is Captain Sarah Chun of the United Human Space Force vessel Indomitable. We received your distress call. Sorry it took us so long to get here. We are ready to assist. Please transmit all tactical data on enemy positions and capabilities. Valorous stared at the display, unable to speak. Civis was the one who found her voice first. Captain Chun, we did not expect anyone to arrive so quickly. How did you cross such distance in such time? There was a pause, then the human captain responded. We heard someone needed help. We made good time. Now, Commander Valorous, I assume you are in charge. Let us talk about how we are going to save your people and kick these wrecks out of your system. Valorous finally managed to speak, his voice shaking. Captain Chun, you do not understand the situation. We are defeated. The wrecks have unlimited numbers. Our shields will fail within days. This is not a battle that can be won. We are grateful you came, but you should save yourselves and leave while you still can. The response came quickly, and Valorous could hear something in the human voice. It sounded almost amused. Commander, with respect, you still have one moon intact and tens of thousands of people alive. That does not sound like defeat to me. That sounds like a mission. Now, are you going to send us that tactical data, or do we have to figure this out the hard way? Valorous looked at Civis, then back at the display showing those 12 ships approaching their dying world. These humans had crossed 47 light years to help strangers. They spoke of an impossible situation as if it were merely difficult. They seemed to have no concept of when to give up. For the first time in months, Commander Valorous allowed himself to hope. Perhaps mathematics and physics were not the only forces in the universe. Perhaps sometimes, just sometimes, miracles came from the stars. Transmit all data to the human fleet, Valorous ordered, and prepare a briefing for Captain Chun. If they want to fight, then we will show them exactly what they are facing. As Civis rushed to comply, Valorous watched those 12 ships grow larger on the display. The wrecks were still circling, still waiting for the shields to fail so they could finish their feast. But now something new had entered the system, something the wrecks had never encountered before. Deathworlders from Earth had arrived, and they did not know how to quit. Captain Sarah Chun stood in the briefing room of the Indomitable, looking at the holographic display showing the Desseran system. Around her, The commanders of the other 11 ships in the human fleet waited for her assessment. They had been traveling for 3 weeks at maximum speed, pushing their faster-than-light drives beyond recommended limits. When the distress call had reached Earth, the United Human Space Force had not hesitated. A civilization was dying, and they had asked for help. That was enough. The hologram showed the Sara Prime, a pale blue moon orbiting a massive gas giant. Around it, like flies around a dying animal, were hundreds of Rex bioships. Chum studied them carefully. They were organic vessels, grown rather than built, masses of living tissue shaped into spacecraft. They pulsed and moved with an unsettling rhythm. Intel had called them beautiful in a horrifying way. Chun just thought they looked like tumors with engines. "All right, people, here is the situation," Chun said, her voice calm and measured. "We have one moon to defend, approximately 40,000 civilians to protect, and an enemy that outnumbers us roughly 50 to 1. The Desserons give us maybe 3 days before their shields collapse completely. Questions?" Commander Jackson from the destroyer Relentless raised his hand. "Captain, have we verified that these Vrex things cannot be negotiated with? Maybe we can broker some kind of agreement." Chun shook her head. "The Desserons tried that for 2 years. The Vrex are a hive mind with one purpose. They consume organic matter to reproduce. There is no negotiating with them any more than you can negotiate with cancer. We have to cut it out." 50 to 1 odds, muttered Commander Park from the Soul. "That is not great." Chun smiled slightly. "Our ancestors fought battles against worse odds and won. Besides, the Vrex have never fought humans before. They do not know what we are capable of. That gives us an advantage." The door to the briefing room opened and Commander Velrus entered, accompanied by 2 of his officers. Chun was struck by how fragile they looked. The Desserons were tall and thin, with gray skin and large dark eyes. They moved with a grace that came from evolving on a low-gravity world. Velrus looked exhausted, his posture showing the weight of command and impending defeat. "Commander Velrus, thank you for joining us," Chun said, gesturing to a seat. "Please, sit down." Velrus lowered himself into the chair, which had been adjusted for his physiology. His officers stood behind him, clearly uncomfortable in the heavier gravity of the human ship. "Captain Chun, I must be honest with you. I have reviewed the specifications of your vessels that you transmitted. Your technology is impressive, but you are vastly outnumbered. The Vrex will overwhelm you, just as they overwhelmed us. I cannot ask you to sacrifice your people for a battle that cannot be won." Chun walked closer to the Desseran commander and looked him directly in the eyes. "Commander, let me tell you about humans. We come from a planet called Earth. Our world has gravity twice as strong as your moon. The atmosphere is 21% oxygen, which I understand would be poisonous to most species. We evolved alongside predators that hunted us. We evolved with diseases that tried to kill us. We evolved in a world that threw everything it had at us, and we survived." She gestured to the hologram. "Yes, the Vrex outnumber us? Yes, they have been winning this war. But they have been fighting civilizations that evolved on gentle worlds. They have never fought a species from a death world. They have never fought humans." One of Velrus's officers, a Kelphi female, spoke up nervously. "Captain, we do not mean to question your courage, but we have studied your biology as part of first contact protocols. Humans are persistence predators. You evolved to chase prey over long distances until it collapsed from exhaustion. How does that help against a spacefaring hive mind?" Chun smiled. "It means we do not give up. It means when you think the battle is over, we keep fighting. It means we do not know when to quit. The Vrex think they have won because your shields are failing. They are waiting for an easy meal. We are going to teach them that humans do not provide easy meals. Commander Jackson brought up tactical displays. We've been analyzing wreck ship movements and combat patterns. They rely on overwhelming numbers and coordinated swarm tactics. They have never needed to develop sophisticated strategy because they always had numerical superiority, which means they are predictable, added Commander Park. We can exploit that. Valrus looked at the tactical data, then back at Chun. You truly believe you can defeat them? With 12 ships against their hundreds? We do not need to defeat all of them, Chun explained. We need to break their assault on the Sar Prime, evacuate your remaining civilians, and damage them badly enough that they think twice about coming back. The goal is not total victory. The goal is survival and making sure they know humans bite back hard. She pulled up a three-dimensional battle plan. Here is what we are going to do. 6 of our ships will form a defensive perimeter around the Sar Prime, reinforcing your shields with our own generators. The other 6, including Indomitable, will go on the offensive. We will strike at their command ships, the largest bio-vessels coordinating the swarm. Cut off the head, and the body gets confused. That is suicide, one of Valrus's officers said. You will be surrounded instantly. Yes, Chen agreed calmly. We will be. But we will be moving fast, hitting hard, and using tactics they have never seen before. Human ships are built tough because we come from a tough world. We can take damage that would cripple most vessels and keep fighting. We can pull maneuvers that would kill other species from the G-forces alone because our bodies can handle it. And we will not stop until either they break or we do. Valrus was quiet for a long moment, studying the human captain. Finally, he spoke. Why? Why would you come so far and risk so much for people you do not even know? We can offer you nothing. We have no resources left to trade, no strategic advantage to provide. Why would you do this? Chum sat down across from him, her expression serious. Because you asked for help, Commander. You sent out a message into the dark, hoping someone would hear. Someone would care. Well, we heard. And where humans come from, when someone asks for help, you answer that call. It is what makes us human. She stood up and looked around the room at her commanders and at the Vesseran delegation. We did not cross 47 light years and push our ships to the breaking point just to watch people die. We came here to fight. We came here to make sure the Vrex learn that there are some species you do not mess with. We came here to make sure that 3 days from now, when those shields would have failed, you are still alive to see it tomorrow. Valrus felt something he had not felt in so long he almost did not recognize it. It was not just hope. It was something stronger. It was the feeling that maybe, just maybe, the universe was not as cold and uncaring as he had thought. That sometimes heroes really did come from the stars. What do you need from us? Valrus asked. Everything you have left, Chun said. Every ship, every drone, every bit of intelligence on Vrex movements. We coordinate everything. Fight as one unified force. You handle defense, we handle offense. Together, we make them regret ever coming to this system. Valrus stood, his exhaustion seeming to fall away. He extended his 3-fingered hand to Captain Chen. Then let us begin, Captain. My people and my resources are yours. Show these monsters what Deathworlders can do. Chun shook his hand firmly. Gladly, Commander. Fleet commanders, return to your ships and prepare for combat operations. We launch in 6 hours. Make sure your people are ready. This is going to be one hell of a fight. As the meeting broke up and commanders filed out, Valrus stayed behind for a moment. Captain Chun, one more question. Are you afraid? Chun looked at him honestly. Terrified, Commander. But fear is not a reason to not do what is right. It is just a reason to be careful while we do it. See you on the other side. As Valrus left the briefing room and returned to the transport that would take him back to the shield station, He looked out at the human fleet positioning themselves around his dying world. These strange beings from Earth, these Deathworlders who breathed poison and lived in crushing gravity, had come to save strangers. The Wrecks were about to learn a very painful lesson. The galaxy was bigger than they knew, and it contained species that fought back. The attack began at dawn on the SAR Prime, though dawn and dusk meant little in a moon that orbited a gas giant. The human fleet split into two groups exactly as Captain Chun had planned. 6 ships formed a defensive sphere around the failing shields of the SAR Prime. The other 6, led by Indomitable, burned hard toward the largest concentration of wrecks. Lio-ships. Commander Voris watched from the shield station as the human ships accelerated to speeds that made his sensors struggle to track them. The humans were pulling 5, sometimes 6 gravities of acceleration. That would kill any Thessaran instantly. The humans seemed unbothered by it. Target the command cluster, Chun ordered from the bridge of Indomitable. Railguns ready. Missile tubes loaded. When we hit them hard enough that they feel it in whatever passes for their collective nervous system. The Wrecks responded to the approaching human ships exactly as predicted. Hundreds of smaller bioships broke formation and swarmed toward the 6 human vessels. It was how they always fought. Overwhelmed with numbers. Tear apart the enemy with sheer mass. All ships, evasive pattern Delta, Chun commanded. Make them work for it. The human ships split apart in 6 different directions, each one weaving and spinning through space in patterns that would have torn apart any Thessaran vessel. The Wreck swarm tried to follow, but the humans were too fast, too agile. They looped and turned, leading the Wreck ships away from each other, breaking up the coordinated swarm. Then the humans opened fire. Railgun rounds moving at a significant fraction of light. Speed punched through Wreck's bioships, the kinetic energy causing them to explode from the inside out. Missiles with high explosive warheads detonated in clusters of smaller vessels, the vacuum of space lighting up with brief flowers of destruction. The humans fought with a brutality that shocked Voris. There was no elegance, no careful preservation of resources. Just overwhelming violence delivered with surgical precision. Indomitable to fleet, we are breaking through to the command cluster, Chun reported. Her ship shuddered as a Wreck's bioship rammed into their shields, but the Indomitable kept moving. All ships converge on my position. We take down those command vessels now. 3 massive Wreck's command ships, each one the size of a small city, loomed ahead. They pulsed with bioluminescence, coordinating the entire swarm. Chun knew from the Thessaran data that destroying these would throw the Wrecks into chaos. They would still fight, but without coordination. "This is Lieutenant Marcus Webb, Marine Commander," a voice came over the fleet channel. "We are reading Thessaran life signs on the 2nd command ship. They have prisoners." Chun swore under her breath. Of course, the Wrecks would keep some prisoners alive for later consumption. Change of plans. "Webb, take your boarding teams and get those prisoners out. We will cover you." "Understood, Captain." Marines are go for boarding action. What happened next became legendary in Thessaran records. 3 human assault shuttles, small and heavily armored, launched from Indomitable and burned toward the 2nd command ship. The Wrecks swarmed them immediately, but the shuttles punched through with point defense guns clearing a path. They slammed into the side of the bioship and cut through the hull with plasma torches. Webb led his team of 40 Marines into hell. The inside of a Wreck's command ship was a nightmare of organic corridors, pulsing walls, and swarms of Wreck's drones that acted as the ship's immune system. The Marines wore powered armor and carried weapons that fired explosive rounds. They advanced through the ship methodically, clearing each chamber with brutal efficiency. "Contact left," a Marine shouted. A wave of Wreck's drones, each the size of a large dog, rushed down the corridor. The Marines opened fire, and the narrow passage became a killing zone. Explosive rounds tore through chitin and flesh. The wrecks kept coming, climbing over their own dead. The Marines kept firing. "How much ammo do we have left?" Webb asked his sergeant. "Enough, sir. These bugs just keep throwing themselves at us." The Marines fought for 2 hours inside that ship, pushing deeper and deeper into its core. They found the prisoners in a chamber that could only be described as a larder. 300 Descerons, Kelthi, and Amari, held in organic pods that kept them alive but unable to move. Webb's team started cutting them free. This is Webb to Indomitable. "We have the prisoners, but we need immediate evac. This ship is starting to notice us." "Negative, Webb," Chun responded. "The command ship is preparing some kind of weapon. We read massive energy buildup. You need to find the control center and shut it down, or it is going to take out half our fleet." Webb looked at his Marines. They were exhausted. Half of them were wounded. They had been fighting in hostile environment for 2 hours straight. Any sane species would pull back, regroup, rest. "You heard the captain," Webb said. "We find that control center and we kill it. Marines, we did not come this far to let these things win. Move out." They pushed deeper into the ship, leaving a squad behind to protect the prisoners and prepare for evacuation. The control center was in the heart of the vessel, a massive chamber filled with neural clusters that acted as the ship's brain. It pulsed with sickly light. Webb and his remaining 20 Marines entered the chamber and immediately came under attack from Vrex warrior drones, larger and more heavily armored than the ones they had fought before. The battle was savage. Marines fought hand-to-hand with Vrex that tried to tear through their armor with claws and mandibles. Webb put his pistol against the head of a warrior drone and fired until it stopped moving. Another Marine was grabbed by 2 drones and started getting pulled apart. His squad mates rescued him, firing at point-blank range. "Plant the charges on those neural clusters," Webb ordered. "We blow this thing and get out." The Marines placed explosive charges throughout the chamber while fighting off waves of wrecks. One Marine, a young woman named Chun, no relation to the captain, was surrounded by 5 warrior drones. She armed a grenade, held it to her chest, and detonated it, taking all 5 drones with her. It gave her squad mates time to finish placing the charges. "Charges set, 30 seconds, the sergeant reported. "Everyone out now." The Marines ran back through the corridors they had fought through, the ship beginning to convulse around them as it realized what was happening. Behind them, the charges detonated, destroying the neural clusters. The command ship lost coordination. Its weapon charge dissipated. The entire massive vessel began to die. Webb and his remaining 19 Marines made it back to the prisoners and their evac shuttles with seconds to spare. They loaded everyone aboard, packed in like cargo, and launched. The command ship was tearing itself apart, its biological systems failing. They cleared the blast radius just as the ship exploded, a massive bloom of organic matter and escaping atmosphere. This is Webb to fleet. Mission accomplished. All prisoners recovered. We lost 3 Marines. Returning to Indomitable. On the bridge, Chun allowed herself one moment of relief, then returned to the larger battle. The wrecks were in chaos. With one command ship destroyed and the other 2 under heavy fire, the swarm had lost coordination. Individual ships still fought, but they were no longer acting as one organism. "All ships, press the advantage," Chun ordered. "Drive them back. Make them hurt." The human fleet tore through the disorganized wrecks like wolves through sheep. Railguns fired continuously until barrels glowed red-hot. Missile tubes launched until magazines were empty. The humans took damage too. The destroyer Relentless lost shields and suffered hull breaches. The cruiser Soul had one engine destroyed. But they kept fighting. Around the Sara Prime, The defensive group held the line. The wreck ships trying to break through to the shield station found human vessels that refused to move. They rammed wreck ships that got too close. They intercepted biomissiles with point defense. They stood their ground and would not break. After 18 hours of continuous combat, the wrecks began to retreat. They had never encountered prey that fought back like this. They had never experienced such losses. The swarm intelligence that governed them made a calculation. This system was no longer worth the cost. There was easier food elsewhere. The remaining wreck ships gathered together and jumped to faster than light speed, fleeing the system. As the last of them vanished, a cheer went up across the Desseran communication networks. For the first time in 2 years, the wrecks were gone. On the shield station, Commander Velrus collapsed into his chair, overwhelmed by exhaustion and emotion. They had survived. The impossible had happened. The Deathworlders from Earth had saved them. Captain Chun sat on the bridge of Indomitable, looking at the casualty reports and damage assessments. They had won, but the cost had been high. She thought about the Marines who would not be coming home. She thought about the ships that would need months of repairs. She thought about whether it had been worth it. Then she looked at the sensor display showing the SAR Prime, still intact, still alive, and she knew the answer. They had come here to save lives. Mission accomplished. All ships, stand down from combat alert, Chun ordered. Begin rescue operations and damage control. Well done, everyone. Today we made a difference. The days after the battle were harder than the battle itself in many ways. Captain Sarah Chun walked through the corridors of Indomitable, noting the scorch marks on the walls and the hastily patched hull breaches. 8 of the 12 human ships were destroyed or so badly damaged they would need to be towed back to Earth. Nearly 40% of the human forces were casualties. 372 people had died. Another 500 were wounded. Chun visited the medical bay, something she did every day since the battle. The bay was overwhelmed with injured personnel. Human doctors and Desseran medical staff worked side by side, learning each other's biology in real time to save lives. It was chaos, but it was organized chaos. "Captain on deck," someone called out, but Chun waved them off. "As you were. I am just checking in." She walked past beds filled with injured Marines and ship crew. Some had burned from energy weapons. Others had broken bones from the high-G maneuvers during combat. A few had been wounded by Vreck's claws and mandibles, their flesh torn, but already beginning to heal. The Desseran doctors were amazed by how fast humans recovered from injuries that would be fatal to their own people. Chun stopped at one bed where a young pilot lay, with bandages covering most of his chest. His fighter had been torn apart by Vreck's fire, but he had survived long enough for rescue. "How are you feeling, Lieutenant Davis?" The pilot managed a weak smile. "Been better, Captain. But the docs say I will be flying again in a few months. The Desseran medical tech is incredible. They can regrow tissue. Take your time healing," Chun said. "You earned the rest." As she continued through the medical bay, she heard a commotion near the entrance. Commander Velrus had arrived, accompanied by several Desseran officials. He moved slowly in the heavier gravity of the human ship, but he moved with purpose. He was visiting the wounded just as Chen was. Velrus approached a Marine, who had lost an arm in the fighting inside the Vreck's command ship. The Marine sat up in bed as the Desseran commander approached. "Sir, you did not need to come all the way up here." "Yes, I did," Velrus said quietly. "You lost your arm saving my people. The least I can do is thank you personally and make sure you receive the best care we can provide." The Marine looked uncomfortable with the attention. "I was just doing my job, sir. Any of us would have done the same." "I know," Velrus said. "That is what makes it remarkable." Chun watched the exchange and felt a mix of pride and sorrow. pride in her people who had fought so bravely, sorrow for the cost they had paid. She joined Velrus as he moved through the medical bay, and together they visited every wounded human and every rescued Thessaran prisoner. One of the prisoners, a young Kelthi female, grabbed Chun's hand as they passed. "You are the captain? The one who commanded the attack?" "Yes, I am Captain Chun." Tears ran down the Kelthi's furry face. "They kept us in those pods for weeks. We thought we would die there. Then your Marines came. They fought through impossible odds to reach us. One of them died protecting us during the evacuation. I do not even know her name." "Her name was Private Rachel Chun," the captain said softly. "No relation to me, but we have the same last name." She was 23 years old. She loved music and wanted to be a teacher after her service. She was a good soldier and a good person. "I will remember her name," the Kelthi promised. "We all will. Every person who was saved from that ship will remember the humans who came for us." After finishing the medical bay visits, Chun and Velrus went to the observation deck. Through the reinforced windows, they could see the SAR Prime below and the debris field from the battle surrounding it. Pieces of destroyed ships, both human and Vrex, drifted in orbit. Recovery teams were working to identify and retrieve the remains of the fallen. "I have been in command for 15 years, Velrus said, breaking the silence. "I thought I understood sacrifice and duty, but I never understood it the way humans do. Your people came so far and gave so much for strangers. Many died. Many more were wounded. How do you make peace with that cost?" Chen was quiet for a long moment. "You do not make peace with it, Commander. You carry it. Every captain, every commander, carries the weight of the people they lost. It never gets easier. You just learn to keep moving forward despite it. We tell ourselves that their sacrifice meant something, that lives were saved because they gave theirs. We honor them by making sure their deaths had purpose. 372 humans died to save 40,000 Thessarans and their allies," Velrus said. "The mathematics are clear. The sacrifice was worth it. The mathematics cannot capture what it feels like to know that people died because of decisions I helped make." "No, they cannot," Chun agreed. "But here is what I tell myself when the weight gets too heavy. We did not make the Vrex attack your world. We did not start this war. We simply refused to let evil win without a fight. Your people called for help, and we answered. Some of my people paid the ultimate price for that answer, but they made that choice knowing what they were doing. They died as heroes, saving lives. That has to be enough, because it is all we have." Velrus looked at the debris field and thought about all the lives lost on both sides. "You're Lieutenant Webb, the Marine commander who led the boarding action. I reviewed his mission report. His team fought for 18 continuous hours in hostile environment against overwhelming odds. They rescued 300 prisoners and destroyed a command ship. He lost 3 Marines, but saved hundreds. How is he doing?" "Webb is in the medical bay. He has 3 broken ribs, a concussion, and numerous lacerations. He refuses to stay in bed. He has been visiting every single Marine under his command, checking on them personally. That is the kind of leader he is. I would like to meet him," Velrus said. "And I would like to award him and his Marines the highest honor the Thessaran Republic can give. We have a medal called the Star of the Sara. It has only been awarded 37 times in our history, always to people who showed extraordinary courage in the defense of our people. I want Webb and every Marine who went into that ship to receive it." Chun nodded. "They would be honored, Commander. But you should know that humans do not fight for medals or recognition. We fight because it is the right thing to do." "I know," Velrus said, "which is exactly why you deserve recognition." Over the next few days, the work of recovery continued. Deseret engineers worked alongside human crews to repair the damaged ships. They shared technology and techniques, learning from each other. The Desserans had advanced shield technology and medical equipment. The humans had weapon systems and armor that could take incredible punishment. Together, they began to rebuild. Chun held a memorial service for the fallen humans. The entire fleet gathered, human and Desseran alike, to honor those who had died. Each name was read aloud. Each life was remembered. The Desserans were moved by the human tradition of playing a song called Taps, a mournful melody that spoke of loss and remembrance. After the service, Valrus asked Chun about human culture and history. She told him about Earth, about how humans had evolved as persistence hunters, chasing prey across vast distances until it collapsed from exhaustion. She told him about human history, filled with conflicts and struggles, but also with stories of sacrifice and heroism. "We are not perfect," Chun admitted. "We have made terrible mistakes in our history. We have fought wars against each other. We have done things we are not proud of. But we have also always tried to be better, to do better. When we heard your distress call, there was no debate, no calculation of cost versus benefit. You needed help, so we came. That is who we aspire to be. The galaxy needs more species like yours," Valrus said. "Species who will stand up against darkness, rather than simply accept it. The Vrex have been expanding for a century, consuming world after world. No one has been able to stop them. You hurt them badly, Captain. You made them retreat. That has never happened before." "We did not stop them," Chun corrected. "We just made them go somewhere else. They will attack another system eventually. They will kill more people. Then we need to be ready," Valrus said firmly. "The Desseran Republic is going to change. We can no longer be a people who only defend. We need to learn to fight back. And we need allies who understand that some things are worth fighting for. I am going to propose to the Galactic Council that Earth be offered membership. It is time the galaxy met the Deathworlders." Chun looked out at the Sar Prime, watching the evacuation ships that were now returning people to the surface. The crisis was over. The moon would survive. But she knew this was just the beginning of something larger. "If Earth joins the galactic community, things will change," Chun said. "We will make waves. We will challenge the status quo. We will ask uncomfortable questions about why civilizations stand by while others die." "Are you sure you want that?" Valrus met her gaze steadily. "Captain, you crossed 47 light years to save strangers. Yes, I want that. The galaxy needs that." 6 months after the Battle of the Sar Prime, the story of what happened had spread across known space. The tale was told in different ways by different species, but the core remained the same. An unknown species from a death world had traveled 47 light years to save strangers from the Vrex swarm. Something no one thought possible. The Galactic Council met on their station orbiting the neutral world of Centrum. It was a massive structure where representatives from hundreds of civilizations gathered to discuss matters of interstellar importance. Today, they were discussing Earth and whether to extend membership to humanity. Commander Valrus stood before the council, his gray skin now healthy and his bearing confident. Beside him stood Captain Sarah Chun, representing humanity for the first time on the galactic stage. She wore her dress uniform, her bearing military but not threatening. Behind them were holographic displays showing footage from the battle and testimony from rescued prisoners. "Honored council members," Valrus began, his voice steady and clear. 6 months ago, my people were dying. The Vrex swarm was destroying our last moon. We sent out a distress call to every civilization within range. Most sent sympathy. Some sent prayers. None sent help. We had accepted that we were going to die. He gestured to Chun. Then humanity arrived. They had no treaty with us, no trade agreements, no strategic interest in our system. They came simply because we asked for help. They came and they fought against impossible odds. They lost 8 ships and 372 people, saving 40,000 Desserons and our allies. They bled for strangers. A council member from the Kurtani Empire, a tall being with crystalline features, spoke up. We sympathize with your plight, Commander Varus. But humanity is an unknown factor. They are aggressive. They come from a death world. Their very biology suggests a violent nature. Are we certain they are the kind of species we want in the galactic community? Chun stepped forward. With respect, council member, you sent sympathy but no help when the Desserons were dying. You called it being pragmatic. We call it cowardice. Yes, we are from a death world. Yes, we are capable of violence. But we are also capable of compassion, sacrifice, and standing up for what is right, even when it costs us dearly. The chamber erupted in murmurs. Several council members looked offended. Others looked thoughtful. A representative from the Helix Federation, a species resembling aquatic mammals, spoke calmly. Captain Chun, your words are bold. But you must understand our perspective. We have built a civilization based on careful diplomacy and avoiding conflict. The Vreks are a problem, yes, but one we have managed by avoiding their territory and accepting some losses. Your solution is to fight them. That risks escalation. Escalation? Chum said, her voice rising slightly. They are consuming entire worlds. How much more can they escalate? You are not managing the Vreks. You are feeding them and hoping they stay satisfied long enough to not turn on you. That is not strategy. That is surrender disguised as pragmatism. Velrus added his voice. The Vreks had never retreated from a system before. Not once in a century of expansion. Humanity made them retreat. They showed that the Vreks can be beaten. They showed that someone in this galaxy has the courage to stand up against evil. That is exactly the kind of species we need. Another council member, this one from a species called the Zenthi, floated forward. They were energy beings who communicated through light pulses. We prayed for the Desserons as we said we would. We do not believe violence is ever the answer. Chun looked directly at the Zenthi representative. Your prayers are appreciated, I am sure. But prayers do not stop bullets. Prayers do not rescue prisoners. Prayers do not hold the line when shields are failing. Sometimes violence is not the answer. But sometimes it is the only answer to violence. The Vreks do not respond to diplomacy or prayer. They respond to force. That is the reality, whether it makes you uncomfortable or not. Captain Chun, the council chairman said, your candor is refreshing if unconventional. But many here question whether humanity can be trusted with membership. Your history shows a species prone to internal conflict. Wars among your own kind. How can we trust that you will not bring that conflict to the galactic community? Chun took a breath, choosing her words carefully. You are right. Humans have fought wars against each other. We have made terrible mistakes. We have caused suffering. But we have also learned from those mistakes. We have built international organizations to prevent conflict. We have created laws to protect the weak. We are not perfect, and we never will be. But we try to be better every day. She gestured to the displays behind her. When we heard the Desseran distress call, there was no debate in our government. No calculation of profit or strategic value. Just a simple question. Someone needs help. Can we provide it? The answer was yes. So we went. That is who humanity is. We are flawed, yes, but we are also capable of incredible compassion and sacrifice. A small council member from a civilization called the Namari stepped forward. The Namari had been among those rescued from the Vrex command ship. I speak on behalf of the 300 prisoners who were saved by human marines. We were being kept alive to be consumed later. We had lost all hope. Then humans broke through impossible defenses to reach us. One of their marines died protecting us during evacuation. Her name was Private Rachel Chun. She was 23 years old. The Namari's voice shook with emotion. I watched her detonate a grenade while surrounded by Vrex warriors to give her comrades time to complete their mission. She knew she would die. She did it anyway. That is the kind of species humanity is. They sacrifice themselves for others without hesitation. If that is not worthy of respect and membership, then I do not know what is. The council chamber was silent. Finally, the chairman spoke. The council will deliberate and vote. Captain Chun, Commander Velrus, please wait outside while we discuss. Chun and Velrus left the chamber and stood in the waiting area. Chun looked out the window at the stars beyond. I may have been too harsh in there. Diplomacy is not my strong suit. Velrus made a sound that was the Thessaran equivalent of laughter. You were perfect, Captain. They needed to hear uncomfortable truths. The galaxy has grown soft, avoiding conflict at all costs. Your people reminded us that some things are worth fighting for. 3 hours later, they were called back. The council chairman stood at the center podium. The Galactic Council has deliberated and voted. By a vote of 73 in favor, 48 opposed, and 12 abstaining, Earth is granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council. This membership will be reviewed in 5 years. Chun felt relief wash over her. It was not a unanimous decision, but it was a victory nonetheless. Humanity had a seat at the table now. However, the chairman continued, there are conditions. Earth must share its defensive and weapons technology with member civilizations who request it. There is concern that if the Vrex return, we need to be prepared. Will humanity agree to this? Chun nodded. We will share our technology. But understand that technology alone is not enough. We can give you our weapons, our ships, our tactics. But we cannot give you the will to use them. That has to come from within each civilization. Over the following months, human military advisors traveled to dozens of worlds, teaching defensive tactics and helping to build proper military forces. The Thessaran Republic began constructing ships based on human designs, tougher and more aggressive than their previous vessels. Other civilizations followed suit. The legend of the Battle of the Sar Prime continued to spread. Parents told their children about the humans who came from Earth to save strangers. Artists created works depicting the battle. Musicians composed songs about the sacrifice of the 372. The story took on mythic proportions, but at its heart remained a simple truth. Humanity had answered a call for help when no one else would. Lieutenant Marcus Webb was promoted to captain and given command of an enhanced marine detachment that would work with the Galactic Council on anti-Vrex operations. He accepted the promotion but asked that his fallen marines be remembered. Each of the 3 who died in the Vrex command ship had a ship named after them. The U.H. Rachel Chun, the U.S. Marcus Rodriguez, and the U.H.S. James Park would carry their names and their legacy. On Earth, the mission to the Sara Prime became a defining moment in human history. It was proof that humanity could be a force for good in the galaxy. Recruitment for the United Human Space Force increased dramatically. Young people wanted to be part of something larger. They wanted to answer the next call for help when it came, because everyone knew it would come. The Vrex were still out there. They would attack again. But now they knew that the galaxy contained species that would fight back. Species that would travel across the stars to protect strangers. Species called humans. On the Sar Prime, a monument was built at the site where the human fleet had first arrived. It was a simple structure, listing the names of every human who had died in the battle. At the top were the words, "They came when no one else would. They fought when victory seemed impossible. They died so that we might live. May we never forget the Deathworlders of Earth who saved us." Commander Velrus visited that monument often. He would stand there, reading the names, remembering.